So, you want to understand Russia, the largest country on Earth? Well, to really get it, you have to go way, way back to the beginning. Russia's story is just this epic tale of geography, faith, and power, and it all starts with some incredibly strong foundations. Let's dig into how they were built.
Okay, let's start with a really basic question, a kind of puzzle. Is Russia in Europe or is it in Asia? It seems like a simple enough question, right? But the answer is, well, it's way more complex than you'd think, and it gets right to the heart of a core tension in Russia's identity.
And yeah, it is confusing. But that's the thing. It's also true. Russia's whole identity is sort of split right down the middle, pulled between these two massive continents. And this duality, it has shaped literally its entire history.
So, check this out. The numbers really lay out the paradox perfectly. A whopping 3/4 of Russia's land is technically in Asia, but 3/4 of its people live in Europe. That's a core tension you just have to get if you want to understand Russia, a European population living in a mostly Asian geography.
So that's where we have to start, with this incredible, almost unbelievable scale. Russia isn't just a country. It's practically a world all by itself. And its geography, from day one, has been both its greatest strength and its biggest challenge. And the geography itself, wow, it's just epic. You've got the Ural Mountains, which literally slice the country in two. Then east of that, you have Siberia, this immense, frigid, almost endless expanse. Back in the west, you've got Europe's longest river, the Volga, and way out in Siberia, the world's oldest and deepest lake, Baikal. So what does all this mean? It means the early Russians were often totally isolated, having to deal with brutal climates and just staggering distances.
Right, so in this massive, challenging land, how does a nation even begin to form? Well, this timeline here gives us a kind of roadmap. It's like a 4-act play. It kicks off with the founding of the early Rus state down in Kiev. Then comes a huge religious conversion, followed by a totally devastating invasion, and finally, the rise of a brand new power center in Moscow.
Okay, so we've got geography down. The next massive piece of the puzzle? Religion. And this wasn't something that just happened by accident. Nope. It was a very deliberate choice made by one man who was basically looking for a soul for his people, the Rus.
And when I say the Rus, who are we talking about? Well, we're talking about this early group of Slavic tribes. Their lands, centered around the great city of Kiev, would one day become the absolute heartland of Russia.
And the guy who made this huge call was Prince Vladimir of Kiev. Back in the year 988, he made a decision that would, literally echo for 1,000 years. He chose Orthodox Christianity, which tied his people's fate not to Rome in the west, but to the powerful Byzantine Empire to the south.
And you gotta understand, this decision, it wasn't just about what God to pray to. It was like importing an entire cultural operating system. All of a sudden, you see those iconic onion domes of Byzantine architecture popping up, beautiful icon paintings, a new language for church services. It provided a whole framework for law and society. This one connection fundamentally shaped what it meant to be Russian.
So for a few centuries, things were going pretty well. The Kievan Rus was flourishing, developing its unique culture, but then, an unstoppable force came screaming in from the east, an invasion that would completely shatter their world and change the course of Russian history forever.
Everything was building, growing, creating this vibrant culture. And then, in what must have felt like the blink of an eye, everything changed. Because the Mongols came.
And the devastation, it was just total. Kiev was destroyed. For more than 200 years, Russian princes had to pay tribute, basically protection money, to their Mongol overlords. Imagine that. That long period of foreign rule left a deep, deep scar on the national psyche. It created this powerful, lasting desire for strong, centralized leadership that could prevent that kind of disaster from ever happening again.
But out of those ashes of subjugation, something new, something powerful started to grow. While other cities were crushed, the small but strategic city of Moscow began to gather strength, getting ready to lead the fight for independence.
And the man behind it all, the architect of this new Russia, was the Grand Prince of Moscow, Ivan III. We know him today as Ivan the Great, and trust me, he absolutely earned that name. He was the one who would finally throw off Mongol control and start building a truly Russian state. See, Ivan wasn't content with just being a prince. He took on a new title, Tsar. Now, this wasn't just a promotion. The word comes from Caesar. Think about the massive statement he was making, that Moscow was now the third Rome,
the true heir to the Roman and Byzantine empires, and the new center of the entire Orthodox Christian world.
And Ivan the Great, he had a plan. It was almost like a 4-step checklist for building a new Russia. Step 1, stop paying tribute to the Mongols, cut them off. Step 2, expand Moscow's territory by basically swallowing up rival cities. Step 3, centralize all-out authority under him, creating a powerful autocracy. And Step 4, adopt Byzantine symbols like the double-headed eagle to show everyone his new imperial status.
So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway here? The whole foundational story of Russia really comes down to this powerful mix of 4 things: its unique and challenging geography, that defining choice of religion, the collective trauma of invasion, and the rise of these incredibly strong rulers who pulled the land together.
And all of this whole story, it leaves us with one last really important question to think about. When you consider this legacy, this unique geography, this separate identity, this history of feeling vulnerable, and this tradition of powerful central rule, how do you think those ancient foundations are still shaping the Russia we see on the world stage today?